Hello YouTube, and welcome back down to my bench. Today I've got another kit review and a build final for you. We're going to go through Revell models, Kustom Chopper, the Torch. Okay, here we go. Now, this kit is really essentially just a weekend banger. You could knock it off in a couple of days, maybe 3. I puttered with it for 4 or 5 while working. So it's not hard to build at all in any way. Now, there are several options like different rims and hand grips, 2 different fuel tanks, and chain covers or whatever, drive belt covers. With this kit, now it's a part of a series of 4 of them. And each one has different customizable parts. So if you've got all 4, you can see you can make some pretty customized models. Unfortunately, I only had the one. Now, issues with this kit, there were a couple things I wasn't too big on with this kit. There was just far too much chrome dip for me. The whole engine block was chromed and everything was just chromed. I had to change it, otherwise, in my personal opinion, it would look more like a kid's toy and less like an actual model of a motorcycle. There was very little flash. The fit was surprisingly good. There were a couple of areas I did have some issues, but everything went in and nothing broke, with the exception of the handlebars. Now, they glue on top here, the forks. Forgive any basic terminology, I'm not a bike guy. Now, the problem here I'm talking about is design in how the model is made. There's 2 tiny little pegs that insert into the corresponding holes on top of the forks, and that's fine. They line up and they fit just beautifully. But when you do scrape all that chrome off, it leaves those tiny little pegs even smaller. So when you put the glue on them, they essentially turn to mush shortly after you put them into the holes, and if you bump the handlebars at all, like putting on the hand grips, then you run the risk of breaking them off. I ended up breaking them off a day or so later while I was doing the clear coat. I had to fix it with some super glue to hold them in place because they wouldn't really adhere again without me scraping chrome off, and then that would really not look good. So then I had to work some extra thin Tamiya cement underneath them to just kind of weld the bars back on, as the pegs they were gone. My advice to Revell is either mold the entire assembly as one piece, bars and forks, or find a different way to have them attached to one another. Now, the kickstand also gave me the same issue. I glued it, it was firm, it held, I wasn't moving, and I put the bike down on it, and it just wouldn't hold the weight. I mean, I waited like 2 days, 3 days. So I ended up removing it, cleaning it all up around there, and using a 2-part epoxy resin to adhere it, and obviously that worked out okay. Finally, let's talk about the decals. Now, here we go again with what I call cheap decals. They look great. They didn't feel overly thick, but there was definitely a ridge on the decal sheet. But I did still have to cut relief into them with an X-Acto knife to get them to conform to the compound curves of the fenders and the tanks. And after cutting the relief, I had to put an additional 3 applications of Decal Softener on them before they finally laid down. Now, I use Microsol 1 and 2, or A and B, whichever you want to call it. So that was 4 coats of Decal Softener to get these suckers to lay down, even after I cut relief into them. So, yeah. So in the end, it looks all right in my books. It's a nice little model, but it's not really my style. I'm not a chopper bike guy. That's the first one I've actually ever built. It is only down here because it came with a couple kits I bought off a guy as a part of a package deal, and I was curious to see just what it built like, as I'd never seen or heard of this line before or built a bike. So I think it would be great for a starter, except for some of the fidgety bits that I mentioned. But the simple fit and low part count make it a great kit for beginners, and still there's loads of fun there for the experienced modeler too. You can get a little fancier, a little more detailed than perhaps I did. I just didn't have the zest to really go all out on this one after having to reduce all the chrome. So that'll do it for this one, folks. Don't forget to sub up while you're here. Hit that little bell while you're down there. Do the channel a favor. Within the next week, we'll be having a video on our 200 subscriber video. It's going to be a giveaway of 2 model kits, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for stopping by. I'm Jay. Don't forget to challenge yourself.